Okay, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 Annual Business Meeting of the Association of Midwest Museums. I'm Charity Counts, the Executive Director for AMM. Before the meeting begins and the rest of our conference day virtual day commences, I'd like for all of us to take a moment to redirect our attention to the land we each occupy and waterways that connect us, and honor the Indigenous peoples who have called these places home. Since AMM is located in Indianapolis, Indiana, I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, Shawnee, Wee, and Kickapoo communities, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. Today's meeting features brief announcements related to AMM member business. It's all the fun and exciting parts of a traditional annual business meeting. Members should have received emails from us at the beginning of July and again yesterday with the minutes from the 2025 annual business meeting for reference today, and a copy of our fiscal year 2025 statements, as well as materials related in advance for voting on board elections. We have turned on Zoom's built-in transcription software, so you should see captions. I think you can turn these off or on with the CC button in your menu. You can also open a transcription screen if you need to. We're also recording this session for the benefit of those who are unable to attend live. Please use the chat feature to comment and engage with our board today. For starters, please take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. I encourage our board members to do the same who are on. I'd like to now turn it over to Brenda Rainey, Interim Vice President of Mission Advancement at Science Museum, Minnesota, and the AMM Board President, to call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Charity, and thank all of you who are joining today virtually for the first day of our 2026 conference. Our theme, We Hold These Truths, feels even more resonant today than when we chose it several months ago. While we initially felt it was an appropriate nod to our country's 250th anniversary, the volume of submission proposals we received told us it struck a much richer chord. Session titles like Museums and the Communities That Make Them, Connecting Communities to Serve a Vital Need, and Listening as Truth not only make me even more excited to get to Chicago next week, they remind me of a universal truth of museums, and that is that we are here to serve our communities. These communities are most easily represented in our visitors, and meeting visitor needs for learning, connection, and inspiration is one of the most important things that we all do every day. However, in the current era, I believe museums are impacting people beyond just those visitors walking through our doors. Museums continue to rank as highly trustworthy among a wide swath of society, even as other traditional institutions like higher education are seeing their status fall. Podcasts, blogs, and virtual tours are becoming just as common as local print pieces and in-classroom outreach as ways museums are connecting with their communities. The informal education museums are uniquely positioned to provide has the power to influence policy and practice in discussions of everything from climate change to civic engagement. We all know those aren't easy conversations, but we shouldn't let their challenging nature keep us on the sidelines. Museums must continue to focus on building bridges and nurturing relationships in our increasingly polarized world. We'll only succeed at this if we continue to listen to and be an active participant in our communities. So many of the sessions in this year's conference program promise to help all of us do just that. Some are overtly addressing these kinds of things. Others are about how we can continue to operate vibrant organizations in a time of ever-shrinking resources and rapidly changing technology. But all of them are about how we can foster the strongest museum possible that is relevant and responsible to the unique community it serves, however that is defined. I might be biased, but the AMM annual conference has long been my favorite because it also values and serves its own community, museum professionals like you from across the Midwest. I'm a modest Midwesterner, but I'll always brag on the talent, expertise, and generous kindness of Midwest Museum people. I encourage all of you to take full advantage of your time with this amazing group today and throughout next week. We're here to learn from and with each other, and I am so excited to connect with as many of you as possible. So with that, I will now call the 2026 Annual Business Meeting of the Association of Midwest Museums to order. As our first order of business, we will approve last year's meeting minutes, and for this, I will pass the virtual mic over to Joe Imholt, our secretary, to lead this process.
Thank you, Brenda. Good morning, everybody. Members received email notifications containing a digital copy of the minutes for the 2025 annual business meeting held virtually on a Zoom webinar last year. Can I get a motion to approve the 2025 annual business meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes or items that members at large would like to request or discuss about the minutes? Hearing none, thank you. Seeing no changes or items for discussion, we'll now ask everyone to vote to approve the minutes as presented using the Zoom webinar poll. Please cast your vote now if you haven't already, and the results will be shown on screen. Great. Thank you. My poll went away, but I'm assuming, unless I see any shakes of heads, that the annual meeting minutes were approved as presented. And I will now pass the mic to my colleague, Erin Carlson, Mass, to share the results of last year's board elections. Erin.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Carlson Mass, President and CEO of the Lincoln Presidential Foundation, and I am very excited to share with you the results of our 2026 board elections. Before we begin, I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge two of my esteemed colleagues on the board whose terms are coming to an end as of this business meeting, DeAndrea Matthews and Danny Gonzalez. DeAndrea and Danny, we are so grateful for your many years of service and countless hours of support for the Midwest Museum community. We will miss having your voices at the table. Everyone, please join me in a round of applause in appreciation of DeAndrea and Danny. Now, moving on to the elections. Members received a digital copy of the 2026 board roster and slate of officers earlier this month and voted in advance to approve the roster as presented. Let's meet our new board candidates. Our nominees are here live with us today. Please wave as your name is mentioned. First, we have Abhijita Debata, AVP, HR Strategy and Operations, Cincinnati Museum Center and National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. Bethany Rakovec, Director of Education and Engagement, Indiana Historical Society. Mandy Mikulski, Executive Director, Science Central, Fort Wayne, Indiana. In addition to new board candidates, we have two existing board members up for re-election. That's Joy DeFrance, Vice President, Organizational Development for the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, has been nominated by her peers for re-election to serve another 2-year term as our treasurer. And Betsy Matt Turner, Vice President of Strategic Advancement at Putnam Museum and Science Center, has been nominated by her peers to serve another 3-year term on the board at large. Members voted in advance to approve the board roster and slate of officers as presented. Let's take a look at the results of advance member voting. Great. Thank you to everyone who voted. Based on these results, with 100% of votes in favor, the board roster and slate of officers is approved as presented. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome our new and returning board members and new officers. And I will now pass the mic to Betsy Matt Turner to assist with recognition.
Thank you, Erin. I would like to take a few minutes to recognize all those who have made contributions over the past year, who have pledged support to the AMM Annual Fund in 2025 and who have pledged already this year. Since launching our annual state-to-state challenge in 2023, we, the board, the state captains, and hundreds of proud museum people have raised a little over $70,000 for the AMM Annual Fund. This fund supports programming, member services, and general operations, including our dedicated staff. In 2025 alone, we saw 327 gifts made and over $26,000 raised. In case you missed it, and you can see it on the screen there, the Cheeseheads up north won in 2025. Wisconsin edged out Illinois, my home state, and Minnesota to bring home the title and secure epic bragging rights. Please join me in a round of applause to celebrate this big win.
Woo!
We will once again preview our state challenge at the conference in Chicago, and I hope that all of you listening today will consider a gift. Every contribution makes a difference, no matter the size, and you can move your state up the leaderboard before the public appeal this fall. Let's take a moment to recognize all of the individuals, institutions, and companies that have supported Midwest museums in the past year. On the screen in front of you is our 2025-26 donor honor roll, followed by our leadership circle members. Great to see so many up there. Please join me in a round of applause for all of our annual fund contributors. And next, we would like to thank our corporate sponsors and organizational partners whose support has made this year's conference possible. And please join me in a round of applause for our sponsors and hosts. Lots of people to applaud for this morning. Thank you, everyone, for your dedication to the Midwest Museum community. And up next, we have some special cameo appearances from past AMM board members. So I am going to pass the mic back to Charity to introduce them.
Thank you, Betsy. Inspired by our regularly occurring Some Good Museum News broadcasts with our regional peers, we've decided to bring back two of our past board members for a special cameo appearance today. When the going gets tough, it helps to get perspectives from the people we trust. Drawing on this year's conference theme, We Hold These Truths, we've asked our board alumni to consider two questions. What is the through line that needs to always guide museums? And what truth do you think museums are most afraid to hold right now? And what would it look like if they did? Joining us live today is Carl Nold, who served on the AMM board from 1999 to 2005. Wait, did I get that right, Carl? Just want to make sure.
2003. Yeah.
2003, okay. And most recently served as the president and CEO of Historic New England. Carl, thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Charity, and thank you all for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here 25 years after I was president of AMM and to see the association doing just such great work. And I hope to be able to be with you next year for the 100th anniversary. So, you know, the through line was so easy for me because it's been throughout my nearly 50-year career the same thing. Our role is to use our collections as best we can to benefit and serve the widest possible audiences. That's it. It's what makes museums distinctive, different from other organizations in our society. It's what defines museums, collections, and the public, and put those together. And to me, that's the through line that we always need to be paying attention to. And it's very broad. It leaves things so open for what we can do and how we do it and so forth. So then coming to the truths that you're looking at in your conference, what truth, singular, you asked about. And I take a little bit of a different view as I thought about that. As I work with museums around the country still, as I'm doing as a volunteer now, I don't see a singular truth that causes the greatest concern. There are so many different challenges to museums' values and practices that are out there, and you'll be talking about them during the conference. So what I see instead, crossing the whole universe of American museums, is uncertainty. That's what I see people being most fearful of right now. It's immensely hard right now to confirm our vision for museums and to determine how to get there with that vision. We've got the political issues, we've got diversity, equity, inclusion, and access issues, financial concern and upheaval in our traditional funding sources, challenges to research and interpretive directions that we've followed for decades now, direct threats to institutions from funding revocation to censorship at the Smithsonian, the National Park Service, and museums of all sizes, probably places where you work. There are demands being made also on universities and libraries who have always been close partners for us. And then there's evolving new technology impacts, especially AI and what that means for our work. Nonprofits of all types always face sustainability and stability issues, even in the best of times. So museum people today, all of you, all of us who love museums and work with them, have all of these uncertainties of the past now much magnified by today's issues. So this uncertainty is not going away anytime soon, but I believe it can be reduced if we recognize that the museum field has been there before. And Brenda referred to this, looking to the past, what can we learn? And as a historian, I realize that we've dealt successfully with similar challenges in the past. And just a few of them quickly being the culture wars of the late 1980s and 1990s, when museums are on the front pages of major papers every day. Massive technological changes. I have to say, when I started my career, we had no fax, no Xerox, no email, no internet, and no Zoom. So we've been through some of that changes. Major financial setbacks, in my career, well, actually in the last 2 decades, we've had 3 global financial crises to deal with that were the largest in the history of the United States. Happily, dire predictions of many museums closing did not come through in those times. And remember, too, those of you that have faced the financial challenges, museums operated successfully before there was any state or federal funding. So uncertainty is not new. We can look back and learn how cultural organizations responded and changed in response to past challenges. Some of the lessons quickly that I see coming out of that is use the confidence that our communities have in us that exist in museums. And Susie Wilkening's doing such a great job in articulating that for us all, that people still trust and love the museums in their community. Be reassured by that support, that our constituents are going to be there when we need them to help us. And we've seen that. And for example, I'm involved with the museum that had one of their major IMLS grants canceled, which really created a great crisis. And the community stepped up and filled the gap in a much larger way than they ever had before. So the communities are there to help us out. And remember, especially, to support your peers in the essential work that we all do through the challenges. And I have to say, our regional and national associations offer us great networks to reach out and to do that, as you all know, being involved with AMM. So doing these things will give us more certainty, will give us a comfort in knowing that solutions have been found in the past and are likely to be found again, and confidence for us to continue. I'll close with one quick tale. I studied museum administration with Dr. Lou Jones, the founder of the Cooperstown Graduate Program and a giant of the museum field in the 20th century. I remember very well the last day of the last course, which had examined all kinds of management issues, mission, governance, finance, personnel, audience, you name it. In his closing words to us, Dr. Jones encouraged us to do the best we can with the problems we will face in our museums, but to always remember, if all else fails, you'll outlive them. 50 years later, I can still tell you, be optimistic, be brave, support your colleagues, and if all else fails, you'll outlive them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carl. You gave me goosebumps. That's exactly what we need to hear right now. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate having you on. Up next, we have a video message from Melanie Adams, who is currently the interim director of the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum. Kind of a tough place to be at the moment. Melanie served on the AMM board from 2013 to 2017, and I gotta say, one of the people we've always turned to with just great advice at all times. And so I'm glad that Melanie is able to be here virtually and to share this message. And she is sorry she couldn't be here. She had a board meeting pop up that conflicted. So we appreciate that she recorded this message and hope you enjoy.
Good morning, Association of Midwest Museums. My name is Melanie Adams, and I have the pleasure of serving as the interim director of the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum. I am honored to provide a few remarks related to this year's conference theme, We Hold These Truths. I always remember a survey that was done a while ago that asked people what institutions or people they felt were trustworthy, and museums always scored high, usually after grandparents. This means the public trusts us to tell them the truth, whether it is about history, science, or art. As museums experience challenges related to content and perspective, it is important to keep in mind your guiding principle or North Star. For me, the first guiding principle is scholarship or truth. This is the foundation from which all of our work emanates. My second guiding principle is community. How are we serving our community, reflecting our community, and being relevant to our community in a way that is authentic and truthful? Like many of you, the pandemic was an opportunity in real time to do more than say we serve our community, but to prove it. Many museums stepped up in a variety of ways, including serving as a vaccination site, expanding their educational programs to serve remote learning, and moving their programs outside of their museum walls. My own museum, the Anacostia Community Museum, served as a site for meal distribution for nearby families. In all, museums met the moment by being authentic, creative, and taking risks. Now we are at a milestone in our country's history and again have a chance to meet the moment by thinking about the needs of our community. Some museums serve their communities by being a gathering space for celebrations such as immigration ceremonies or Juneteenth. Others make sure their programs and exhibits are inclusive by sharing stories that may have been omitted from traditional narratives. And most museums today recognize the importance of being attuned to current issues and how their content can help visitors understand today's changing world. Though your communities may be different, I encourage you to learn from your colleagues who are struggling with many of the same issues and coming up with creative solutions. The future of what your museum can be is in your hands, and I hope you will reflect on your own North Star and reach for it. Thank you.
If you're listening to this later, Melanie, thank you for being here. All right, let's give a round of applause for the board alumni who joined us today and shared these wonderful messages and reminders. Feel free to unmute if you're on live here or use the reaction icons or comment in the chat. But thank you so much, Carl. Thank you, Melanie. We really appreciate you. Okay, now I'm going to hand things over to Common.
Thank you, Charity.
AMM Awards.
Thank you, Charity. The AMM Awards program recognizes individuals and organizations for the work they're doing to advance their institutions, improve the workplace, reach new audiences, and serve their communities. The award committee was excited to see a near record number of nominations yet again. Not only that, the nominations this year were inspiring to read. is truly the best part of committee service, to get to read all of the wonderful things that cultural organizations and proud museum people are doing in our region. Now, let's announce this year's award winners. Illinois State Museum in Springfield, Illinois is being recognized with the Best Practices Award for their collaboration with a local Spanish club at Beardstown High School to develop a temporary exhibition titled Mi Casa es Su Casa. This year's Groundbreakers Award recipient is Minnesota Museum of American Art in St. Paul, Minnesota, for Queering Indigeneity, a multi-year, multi-generational exhibition and programming initiative that centers two-spirits, Native queer, and gender-expansive voices. We have two distinguished career award recipients this year. Sherry Diesoto Peglo, a Gold Star registrar from Newfields in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Peter James Ward Ritchie, who has served for 14 years on the board of directors for the Robbinsdale Historical Society in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This year's Promising Leadership Award recipient is Marissa Yulee, who is transforming professional development at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, Indiana. So please join me for a round of applause for this year's AMM Awards recipients.
Woo!
Yay! All right, and we will celebrate our honorees during the Midwest Museum's Recognition Lunch at the conference in Chicago and invite all of our members to participate in virtual events this fall to learn more about their work and celebrate their wins. Next, we'll have Charity and Sam make an announcement about next year's conference location.
Charity, I'm so sorry. Can you get us started?
Yeah. Thank you, Common. Well, Sam, you're up first in the.
I know I was.
I'm
Making the sausage in real time here, folks. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Moore. I'm Managing Director of Public History at the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis. I know we haven't even gotten to Chicago yet and haven't gotten to the best part of this year's conference, which will be exploring all of the great museum community that's in Chicago. But we want you to know we're already excited about and thinking about next year.
That's right. And if you haven't guessed it, it's going to be in Missouri. AMM will be celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2027, and we couldn't imagine a better way to celebrate than to partner with our neighbors in the Mountain Plains region. So we're going to host a joint conference in a little border town known as Kansas City. We will also be collaborating with our friends at the Missouri Association of Museums and Archives on the program.
So we hope you'll join us on Wednesday to Saturday, August 4th to 7th. We'll be at the Sheraton Kansas City at Crown Center, which is just a stone's throw from Union Station, the World War I Museum, and the Nelson Atkins.
And if you represent a Kansas City museum or a cultural center or an organization in surrounding areas, be on the lookout for an invitation to participate in a conference listening session in the coming weeks to kick off planning for the event. So this will happen probably sometime in early September.
We'll also be inviting proposals for museums to participate as hosts at that time, but please don't hesitate to get in touch with Charity or with me between now and then if you're interested. We'd really love to hear from you if you're in Kansas City. We're excited to show Kansas City. We're excited for Kansas City and for Missouri as a whole to show everyone what great hosts we can be. Stay tuned.
Okay, Brenda, back to you.
It is now time to close our meeting. Thank you to the AMM board and to all of our members who were able to join us this morning live, and to those of you who are catching the recording later. I hope that you are all taking advantage of our full day of conference programming taking place online today. Virtual Day will kick off with a moderated panel discussion around the Chicago Monuments Project. And the 2026 annual business meeting is officially adjourned.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. Board members and Carl, please stay on. We're going to take a quick photo.